Hello folks and welcome to Paddock Pass, your pre-race edition for the 2019 French Grand Prix. Bienvenue at Circuit Paul Ricard. 3,000 kids in the paddock today. It's been amazing. Best school trip ever. I never got brought to a Grand Prix track as a kid. Cirencester and the Roman ruins there was about as exciting as it got. Actually quite exciting for a history geek kid. But what a day out. They've had open top bus rides around the circuit and they're meeting drivers and having a blast. Great thing. More of that on Grand Prix Thursdays. Absolutely mega. Of course, we arrive here 10 days after the Canadian Grand Prix, and the ruminations of that still rumbling under the surface. Question, of course, over regulation, over stewarding, over the upholding of those regulations, of clarity, of certainty, of consistency in the stewarding process, and how we've got to this point. I think we're not going to come up with an answer in 10 days, and I think it's part of a bigger construct that is affecting all of world sport at the moment. If you look at football and the VAR debate and all of that kind of thing, it is taking a grey area that is sport and the black and whites that come with clarity and certainty. As I said, it is a debate that all sport globally is experiencing at the moment, with the advent of newer technology, of multiple angle replays, of telemetry, all those kind of things. Not an easy one to answer. Where are we though as regards Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel and that 5-second penalty? Well, when we last saw you, Ferrari had told the FIA of their intention to appeal that 5-second penalty. They withdrew that intention to appeal, replaced it instead though with a request to review the incident itself. Now, in order to do that, you need to prove that you have new evidence that the stewards did not have at the time of the incident. So the stewards from Canada will reconvene tomorrow, Friday, in the afternoon, at which time Ferrari will be able to give them this new evidence. Say, this is our new evidence. If the stewards determine that that new evidence is in fact new evidence and is relevant to the incident, then the review will be granted, and the review will then happen. They could obviously decide that no, that evidence isn't new evidence, or that it doesn't matter because it's not relevant to the investigation, to the penalty itself, in which case there will be no review. So we will wait until Friday to discover exactly what goes on there. Got it? Good. Right, let's get on with this weekend and let's look towards the French Grand Prix on this beautiful circuit down here in the south of France. Love this place, genuinely. It's a glorious place to come for a race. Let's start though with Ferrari, shall we? Let's start with the man of the moment, with Sebastian Vettel. Is he going to say much about Canada? Is he just going to be concentrating on this weekend? I don't know. He's literally talking right now. So let's hear what he's got to say.
You come here in good form, having crossed the line first in Canada. How do you see the championship picture?
Well, at the moment, Mercedes is leading and we are behind.
But you said in Canada that not only that race, but also the races in June, July would be crucial. Obviously, you did cross the line first, but you didn't get the 25 points. Is it still on, though, the championship? Or is it realistically...
Well, it's a long way, you know. I think it's quite clear if we win every race from now, then it's a walk in the park. But... you know, you don't have to be a genius. Obviously, we have a lot of points to score, but we also know that Mercedes currently is in a better form than us. I think Canada helped our car in terms of track characteristics, and we saw on Sunday it was very, very tight. Yeah, obviously, as I mentioned before, we're pushing very hard. We have some new bits here, and hopefully we are able to close the gap further. And as I said some weeks ago, and I still will say the same, the next races will be very important, because obviously once you hit sort of race 10, which more or less is half time, then there's only 10 races left, so, or 11. So yeah, you know, we obviously at some point need to start turning things around. Otherwise, you can't beat them by finishing behind them.
And last one for me, finally, tell us what Ferrari hope to achieve with the review tomorrow. Is it just to get things a bit clearer in the rules? Are you looking for the win back? Is it starting a discussion about whether the rules should be changed, or the implementation, or whether to investigate things like this at all?
Well, I think first of all is to, you know, open the case again and have another look. I think we bring some information that maybe the stewards didn't have at the time, and we'll see what happens.
And so to Mercedes, who actually described Canada as quite a disappointing weekend because they finished first and fourth. Or that's a disappointing weekend. They are still on for the perfect season. They have won every Grand Prix so far this year. Lewis Hamilton, your championship leader, though, not doing media time today. He's been excused by the team, by Toto Wolff, as he's in Paris, slightly further north of here today, for Karl Lagerfeld's memorial. So Lewis not in the paddock. He will be here tomorrow, though, we hope, for FP1. Let's talk instead to Valtteri Bottas, who of course finished the Canadian Grand Prix in fourth place, and will be hoping for a much better weekend here in France to get that championship challenge kicked back into where he wants it to be.
Valtteri, 90, let's go on to the positives. And there's been plenty of positives this season. 19 consecutive top 5 finishes. And when you've led this season, you've won. Just got to get in front, haven't you?
Exactly. That's the thing, You need to get in front in qualifying and off the line. But, yeah, I mean, obviously, like points-wise, compared to the race we've had, it's been best start to the year that I ever had in Formula 1. So in that sense, it's been positive. But good thing. We feel as a team that there's also things still to improve. So for sure that means that if I do things right, there is more to come.
This time last year with your points tally, you'd have been leading the championship by 12 points, I think. So you focusing on that? Has any element of self-doubt crept in at all?
No doubt. I still remember my last win, last pole, like yesterday, and I know I can do it. So obviously, the points gap to Lewis is, I know roughly how much it is, so it's still manageable. It's 14 races to go, and that's a lot of points. So just need to try and get those wins now, get the big points.
Yeah, it's 29. just I know you probably don't want to know, but 29 points, and I suppose you make any mistakes, it's accentuated, isn't it, against someone of the caliber of Lewis. You know that. How do you go about minimising those from here on in?
Just need to keep focused really, and really take it day by day. Focus on the weekend, and mistakes do happen. Obviously, always trying to minimize those, and sometimes those, like in qualifying in Montreal, they just happen. Sometimes it can happen in the practice, in the race, or qualifying, and that's it. But doing everything I can to minimize those and have the confidence in the car and push hard.
And so to the home team, this weekend, Renault celebrating the 40th anniversary of their first Grand Prix victory, which was at Dijon in 1979. Jean-Pierre Jabouille won that race, which you all remember, of course, for the Arnoux-Villeneuve battle, which was ultimately for second place. And let's not forget, people sort of bringing that up in relation to Canada, Arnoux and Villeneuve vilified by their fellow drivers after that, by the likes of Scheckter and Lauda, who said, you can't race like that, it's not on. That never gets brought up, though, because the rose-tinted specs are firmly in place. Anyway, let's talk to these guys. New motorhome this weekend. First time in 10 years they've had a new motorhome. I think we can allow them that because their last motorhome was an upcycle of the old Toyota motorhome. So it's not like they just throw in cash away willy-nilly. First one for them for a decade. Let's talk to Nico Hülkenberg. Came out to meet the press down in the pen earlier. Double point score in Canada. A turnaround, as it has been described by many for Renault. Cyril Abiteboul earlier this week as team boss saying perhaps he had raised expectations a touch too high in the pre-season, expectations which have not yet been met.
To be honest, I don't keep up with the headlines every day because there's many of them nowadays. And they're not always, with the greatest substance, but I think the outline target of Renault to be, fourth fastest, and that, clearly, I think that ambition and target hasn't really changed. Yes, the season start to the season was a bit troubled and a bit, up and down. Canada was good. Hopefully, we gained the confidence back and, managed to get some headroom and coming here with some updates. And with the momentum from Canada, it should be okay.
Is it too easy to say that Canada was the turning point, or did that turning point actually happen quite a bit further before that to actually allow you to that place?
Yeah, Canada was a turning point maybe in terms of fortune. Before that, I always felt we had decent performance in the car, point scoring positions, but there was always something that went wrong, whether it was driver error, technical mistake, or a problem. There was always something that held us back from getting results. So that was frustrating, but hopefully, we're through this phase now and on to the next better phase. Summertime now is nice. Hopefully, a couple of Grand Prix with many points.
You've been at Enstone for a while now. Does it feel any different this year?
Every year, the team is maturing more still. The operations are still growing. You can see the structures are obviously still getting stronger, enforcing more. So does it feel different? Yes and no. The team and the people are still the same. The dynamics are still a little bit the same, but you can see that a lot of things around it has changed and has become better and bigger.
Red Bull Racing have a new upgraded power unit this weekend for both of their drivers. Toro Rosso have it too, but only for one of their drivers. They've been having a good year so far, but that extra little bit of grunt is something that they will need, particularly here with the long straights at Circuit Paul Ricard. Let's talk to Max Verstappen, who's had quite the incredible 12 months, as we said, in Canada. Canadian Grand Prix to Canadian Grand Prix. He's gone a full 12 months, a full 22 races, having never seen a checkered flag after his teammate. Never been beaten when he's finished a Grand Prix, which is quite an astonishing achievement. We will talk to him, though, about what he expects from that engine, what he expects from this weekend, coming into what is in Austria in a week's time, going to be their home race. French Grand Prix, been quite a fun few days, though, in between Canada and here.
I've done a few things. First of all, I went to was it New York? Yeah, and then afterwards, and then traveling back to England. Then had a cool concert as well. So I had a fun week.
Rested and rejuvenated, and you've got a new engine in the back of your car this weekend. What are you expecting to get from that?
Little step forward again. It's not going to be enough, I think, to really challenge Ferrari and Mercedes on the straights, but every little bit helps us, and we just keep pushing forward.
How impressed have you been with what Honda are bringing to the table, and in terms of what they're promising you? Are you seeing that related on track when you finally get it in the car?
Yeah, it's never less than what they promise. So that's good. They are very realistic and honest about it, and I think that is way more important than promising things and not delivering. So they are definitely on target. As a driver, of course, you always want more and more and more, but they also know that they are working really hard on it. And we already said from the beginning of the season, if there is something better, just bring it. Like, we don't wait, because probably we'll take engine penalties at one point throughout the year, but that's not a problem for us. We just want to find the performance.
You've got the long straights here, so obviously that'll help with that, but a lot of mediums and high-speed corners as well, a lot of quick changes of direction. How happy are you with the aero direction that the team has taken and where the car is, to have the confidence around that part of the track as well? Yeah,
it's getting better and better. Of course, I think, like maybe many other teams, we're still not where we want to be. I think that's also quite normal. You always want to try and find performance on the car. We are taking, I think, the right directions. It just takes a bit of time, of course.
Now, it's not often that we talk to both drivers from a team in a pre-race paddock pass. But we're going to today because it's their home race, and also the energy station is opposite the Haas trucks, so we can do a nice little joint link from Pierre Gasly to Romain Grosjean, and both French drivers.
I just feel like so excited to be here and like lucky at the same time, because we didn't have Formula One in France for many years, and it just got back in the calendar last year. So I joined Formula One, so it was really lucky timing. And no, it's a great place. Like, the south of France is amazing, and just more supporters compared to other tracks. So just gives extra energy. So really excited to get started.
And a power unit upgrade for your home Grand Prix as well. Feeling good? Feeling confident?
Yeah, it's gonna be good. For sure, it's not a massive upgrade. I know everybody keeps talking about it, but it should give us a bit more performance in the race. So we always take it.
How are you settling in now? I mean, we're 7 races in. We're a third of the year gone. Are you Are you confident? Have you found your feet? Have you found the platform from which you can springboard, from which you can develop with the team?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm feeling more comfortable, and I think this is fine. But it's like fighting against the best driver in the world. In Formula One, you need everything to be perfect, and at the moment there are many things which are not. So just need to focus on all these areas and trying to put things all together to get the best out of our package. But that's what we're all trying to do. We're working really hard, and hopefully it's gonna come together soon.
It's a terrifying statistic. Canada to Canada, Max hasn't finished behind a teammate once in a Grand Prix. What is that to go up against every weekend?
Well, I think it's fair to say Max is one of the best drivers in the world at the moment, and if not the best. So it's, as I say, in Formula One, you need everything to be perfect to fight against these guys. So it's really competitive. I think not doing any mistakes, really consistent. So for me, it's good to be next to him, especially in my second season. Where I'm still developing and I'm still getting better and better. So he's a great teammate for sure. He's really fast, really consistent. But I really like the challenge.
Hello, Romain.
Hello.
Welcome home-ish. How much are you looking forward? French Grand Prix?
Yeah, very much looking forward for French Grand Prix. It's always good to come here. It's a beautiful place, beautiful atmosphere. I like the track. I like south of France. So very happy to be here.
And you spent a lot of time here over the years in the old GP2 days, testing and Formula 3, I guess. And I guess with the Renault development driver scheme, you must have spent a lot of time here.
Actually, a fair bit on GP2 and on iRace, which was the Renault program for VIPs, but actually never on the long track. So the first time I did the long track on a single seater was actually last year for the French Grand Prix. I only drove it once with the GT during the GT World Championship in 2010, I believe. But surprisingly enough, that was the first time I was going down after turn one.
No way. How do you think this one's going to suit you guys? We know the frustrations have been high. You have an incredibly fast one-lap car, but in the race, it's proven a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I've heard something like that. It's let's see, it's a bit of a diva, and it's been working very well sometimes, and a bit more tricky other times. So this weekend it should be warm, should be hot. There's a lot of energy from the circuits going into the tires, so we should be fine on that aspect. And I'm hoping that our quali pace stays there for the race, and we can be clear of the rest and have an easy, boring race.
As Romain Grosjean alluded to, their car's a bit of a diva. For more on that, we're going to talk to Kevin Magnussen. We heard the radio outburst last time out in Canada. Frustration from him boiling over. A car that is ostensibly quick, and they know it's bolted on fast, but in the race just turns to blancmange. It's really a confusing state of affairs, as Kevin, I think, explains brilliantly.
When you know you have a good car and you see yourself qualifying well, and if you look at qualifying, we're the fourth best car, and then when you find yourself in a situation like we did in Canada, it's hugely frustrating and just confusing, and not ideal. And in Canada it kind of just became a bit too much. I was very frustrated with the situation, and not only for me, but just frustrated for us as a team. We're doing well, and being part of the team, I see all the places that we're making progress and just growing as a team and improving, and really just progressing towards becoming a real good Formula One team in all areas. And then we find ourselves in the situation that we do that our car or whatever it is for some reason just doesn't work the tires in the right way in the races, and it's very confusing and hard to understand. And in Canada I became very frustrated, as you all heard, and I think it got interpreted as if I was criticizing the team, but I was just criticizing the situation.
Just venting.
Yeah, I guess so, and just frustrated at the whole situation. But I know how frustrating it is for the whole team, and I can't really criticize a car that is qualifying as well as it is. So it's not like I was I had any ground to criticize the car or the team. It's more just the tires and the situation.
So what have you got to do? Have you got to sort of go into practice sessions with race fuel and just plod around on race fuel until you get your head around the tyres? Is it work being done back at the factory to understand what's happening? Like, put us inside the team. What's going on?
I think we have all the guys, working flat out to try and understand the situation. Again, it's like we have this great car that we know is great, got great downforce and is handling really well. But for some reason, we lose a lot of performance as soon as we start doing more laps on the tires, which we do in the race. So we've got all the guys working flat out on that, trying to understand it, and and then alongside that, we also need to keep the car development going. We need to still bring more downforce to the car, and although it's already at a great level, we need to keep that curve going, and we are. It's one of the things that I see in the background is the parts are being designed and you're getting new parts and they're being produced, and it's the parts are good quality, and we're just improving in all areas, and yet we don't see the points coming because of these tires.
So how does that change where you go from a developmental perspective? If you've got a very, very fast one-lap car, but a car that just falls to pieces in the race, do you have to have your development more towards one lap, more towards, I'd imagine, more towards race, but then does that take away from your one-lap pace?
Well, I think we can't let it do that. We need to try and understand the problem first. We've had hot races, we had cold races, we had high energy circuits, we have low energy circuits. Pretty much all types of tarmac. Low downforce car, high downforce car. Hot tires, cold tires. It's we've been through it all, and it seems that nothing really makes sense. So it's tough, and it's tough for the guys to understand. None of our guys are stupid. They're really talented guys, all of them, and it's hard to understand why we can't understand it.
In the space of 12 months, McLaren have gone from a team struggling to a team reborn. Actually, it's probably not even 12 months, it's more like 6, but their rate of progression is phenomenal. Andreas Seidel, the new boss at the team, mentioned this week that he believes for their operational budget, they are underachieving. So clearly, he sees paths, ways in which the team can better utilise its money, make its way further up the grid, but they are now a consistent points threat at every Grand Prix. It's good times at McLaren, and a lot of positivity is coming back to the walls of Woking. I think it's fair to say the team is on a really sort of upward trajectory at the moment.
If you say so.
Do you not agree?
No.
Okay. So are you plateauing? Are you dropping?
Up and down. I think we obviously had better races, but we've also had from what we know, obviously maybe it hasn't looked it in the results, but from what we know, we've had much more difficult races, ones where we've not been lucky, but we've had to nail it to get the result we have. Montreal obviously didn't go all so well for both cars, but I don't know, we're working as hard as we can to work on the things which we know we're really struggling with, but I guess if you look compared to last year in general, our average results are better. So we're getting there, but there's still a lot of work to do.
Montreal in particular, you really beat yourself up after pretty much every day, I think.
Friday, a lot on Friday.
A lot on Friday. Saturday you weren't happy. Friday, Sunday wasn't your fault. So what's it going to take for you to not beat yourself up? What do you have to do on a weekend to actually walk out of a track with your head held high? Because you've had some cracking performances this year.
I don't know. It's hard to know because, I don't know. I don't think many drivers, or mainly me, I don't know what other drivers think, but I'm only happy when I know I've achieved what I know I can achieve. And a lot of the time this year, not all the time, but a lot of the time, I haven't been able to do that through myself making mistakes. But I can do bits and bobs, I just can't put it all together, and obviously that's something that happens a lot. But that's the thing I need to work on more. So just having a clean weekend altogether, not making mistakes, and starting hopefully the weekend off on a better foot compared to Canada, because I started a long way behind there. So hopefully starting this weekend slightly better, slightly faster, and then work from there.
That's the drug, isn't it? The search for perfection. You'll never be perfect, but it's that constant striving for it.
It is, and that's why I love doing it. It's why why I enjoy doing it so much, is because I want to do the lap that feels like I've nailed it. I want to do the result or the race where I feel like I couldn't have done any better, and that comes maybe once a season, maybe not even once a season. So hopefully I can find it soon or less.
It's a good Canadian Grand Prix for Sport Pacer Racing Point Formula One team, which I should mention because I misspoke. I hate that turn of phrase. I misspoke. I didn't misspeak. I just got it wrong. In Montreal, when I said that it was their home race because they're now a Canadian team. They're not. Obviously, they're still a British team, just with a Canadian sort of lead investor. So it's kind of a home race for them, but not really, because they are still British and based at Silverstone. But Lance Stroll, obviously, is Canadian. His home race, he had an absolute belter. But the one thing that is certain is he still isn't getting qualifying nailed. And we know he's a good qualifier. We've seen him qualify brilliantly. He can hook a lap together. Why is it going wrong? What does he need to improve? What does he need to change? Because his racecraft, as he proves time and time again, from blistering starts to being able to manage a strategy and pull it out when it counts, has been phenomenal.
Yeah, it was really just a difficult Saturday, I would say. Everything leading up to the engine blow up and qualifying, no running in a P3, all that was good. I mean, Friday was solid, but the race itself was great, and so many positives to take out of it. Just really well executed. We had good pace throughout the race, some good overtaking maneuvers, and great strategy. That led to a great result. So I was really pleased after it. I was definitely on a high for a few days, and now I'm looking forward to Paul Ricard.
The FP3 issues in Canada obviously made qualifying a lot harder, but qualifying has been hard for you all year long. Have you got to change the way that you approach a weekend to draw the most out of qualifying, or is there something else that you've got to do differently?
I think it's a combination of things. I mean, it's definitely something I got to work on. It's something I want to be better at. However, we haven't really had the pace as well the last few weekends. So, the beginning of the season definitely, didn't execute perfectly, and therefore that kind of knocked me out early rounds. However, the last few weekends, we just haven't had the pace to get through both cars being knocked out. So that's a focus point moving forward. So our race pace looks pretty strong. So. It's really something we got to focus on. However, I don't think it's really structurally how we approach the weekends. I think it's a matter of developing the car, working on some of some areas of my driving and just my my qualifying. And a combination of those things is the key to success.
You don't get a front row start at Monza in a Williams unless you can put a lap together. So what is going? Is it just the tyres this year? Is it trying to get them into that window in that very narrow space, or overworking them? Is it that, or is it something else?
Well, it's like I said, it's a combination of things. The last couple events, surprisingly in Canada, we didn't have the pace on Saturday. It's a very tight midfield, so every 10th counts. But leading up to qualifying, we looked very strong. Sergio looked very strong in FP3, and then unfortunately both cars knocked out in Q1. So we're still looking into it. We're constantly trying to make the car quicker, and I believe ultimately that's what it comes down to, is those extra couple tenths to give us that performance to get through, and then from there the car really comes alive in Q2 and Q3. So we want to see some more of that.
Now, we mentioned earlier that Toro Rosso, like Red Bull Racing, have new engines this weekend. However, it's only going to be for one of their cars. It's for Danny Kvyat rather than for Alex Albon. Let's talk to Danny Kvyat, I think one of the drivers of the opening part of this season. Of course, returning to Formula One, he's done a bang-up job, like an outstanding job. I think the best version of Danny that we've ever seen in Formula One, and because of that, his name is increasingly being linked with a potential move back to Red Bull Racing if Pierre Gasly doesn't find that extra gear, doesn't find that extra burst of pace to take it to Max Verstappen consistently. And quali and race trim we're still looking at about a half a second with the best will in the world between the two of them. How much longer will the bosses at Red Bull put up with that? Those are genuine question marks being asked in Formula One at the moment. It's not fair because Pierre is a phenomenal driver and is doing a standout job, but Red Bull are an operation that requires absolute perfection, absolute best at all times, and if one of their drivers they don't think is doing quite as good a job as they want, we've seen it in the past, they will not be shy in switching them around. Danny currently best placed to make that move if indeed that call comes.
Yes, I think it was a productive and a strong beginning, or if you can say the first quarter, first third of the season, something like that. I think it was good, and there was very productive last few races with 3 consecutive points finishes, and we hope to continue on this kind of rhythm.
You've got a new power unit in the back of your car this weekend, but how are the aero upgrades coming for the car? Are they coming fast enough, and are they good enough for you?
Yes, we've been delivering quite good, I think, aero updates on the car quite consistently. Maybe not too big, but always there. So it's quite good in that respect. I think we just need to see how our car will suit this track. So far, we've been normally always quite competitive on many kinds of tracks. We just need to try and find how to make our car competitive on this track too.
What's your end game? What's your goal? Is it to sort of keep progressing this team forward, keep moving it up? Do you have one eye on Red Bull and potentially a move back there? Where's the focus for you right now?
I think the focus should always be like here right now. I think it's the rightest approach because I don't want to think too far ahead for now. I enjoy my experience here with the team. We are having a really good run, and then whenever the moment will come to speak about the future, we will sit down with Helmut as we usually do, and we see what he thinks about my performance so far.
To Alfa Romeo, Fred Vasseur there being interviewed. It's back of Eric Boulier's head. Eric, who used to be at McLaren, now is running the French Grand Prix, so he's in charge of traffic this year, no pressure. Fred Vasseur has said the team has got to cut out mistakes if it is to maximise the potential, which they showed in the early races of this season. Let's talk to Antonio Giovinazzi, who as a rookie has not had an easy time of it. Obviously, his teammate Kimi Räikkönen did all of the major running in the early races, but Antonio's starting to find his feet, starting to settle in. Let's talk to him as he arrives here, having now completed 1/3 of his proper rookie season in Formula One.
We are working really hard. We were again in the factory last week and tried to improve the car. Of course, midfield is really tight, and a few tenths just make some positions. So we need to find the details. And I hope here we have a new package, and I hope can be a positive package and good for Sunday.
What's changed?
We'll see. Well, it's a few change. It's important change. So I hope it's working, and we can come back on the performance we had in the beginning of the season.
So what were the areas that you were lacking? What were the areas that needed looking at?
To be honest, just ever, of course, tires is really important to find the windows where the tires is working. But also more downforce is important. So we need just try to improve in every part, and I'm sure we can have a better result.
How much has last year and your work with Ferrari on the sim helped you this year in terms of, it's your rookie year, you've got to concentrate on going out and racing, but you've also got developments coming, so to have that knowledge of constantly development driving in the sim, has that sort of made it a little easier for you?
Yeah, of course. I think it was a good 2 seasons from my side. I improved a lot, with the feedback I give to the team, and I think this area is quite important. Midfield team, and they need a good driver with good feedback. And I think I have a good teammate like Kimi. They know already what you want, but also from my side I need to know what I want. And I think it was 2 seasons where I improved a lot in that part.
And the fact that you and Kimi have worked together before, obviously, does that help too?
Yeah, of course. I know Kimi already since 2 years, and I know in which way you want to go. And fortunately, we have the same driving style, so can help the team as well. So yeah, so far we are working well, but we need to work more and have a better result.
And last but by no means least, to Williams. If it seems a little harsh that we always finish on Williams, it's because look up there. That's the paddock. And this is the other end of the paddock, and they're always at the far end of the paddock, so it's just the order in which we get to them. It's not because we're being harsh. Big step forwards in Canada. New suspension gave them that solid foundation from which they can develop and push and grow. George Russell did brilliantly here last year in Formula 2, returns to a track on which he excels, but he will be missing FP1. Nicholas Latifi, who ran out for the team in place of Robert Kubica in Canada, will be back in FP1 for them here and will replace the Formula 2 champion. We caught up with him, one of the first interviews of the day actually, under glorious sunshine at a track that he loves.
Looking forward to it. Sunshine in, south of France. What's not to love?
I know, it's lovely here. I absolutely love it. You spend a lot of time here in sort of formative junior years, coming here not just to race but to test and all of that. Is it somewhere that you know well, feel confident just jumping in for FP2?
I hear you've done a test around here in a Formula 1 car.
Many moons, well I say many, a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Maybe need to get some advice from you how to...
No, you don't. I lifted for Singe, so you definitely don't need advice from me.
You don't want to be doing that. You don't want to be doing that. But no, I mean, I did F1 test here last year with Mercedes in the wet, which was nice. Won F2 here, finished on the podium in F3. Good memories. So hopefully a little boost into the weekend. But no, the fact is it's going to be another tough weekend for us. And I think obviously we're trying to bring positivity to everybody, but the fact is we are going to be in this situation for a number of races to come. So everyone's got to be patient, and it's going to be more of the same, and then only then hopefully we can start to get a bit closer, but and try and sort it out for the end of the season.
I know it's about those incremental gains, but you had a pretty big one not so long ago with the suspension, which you said was the foundation that everything else was going to be built upon. Did you have that consistency last time out in Canada that you can build the speed on top of?
I think so. It was a good step in terms of the drivability of the car, and I think as a driver you need that. You need the confidence to be able to push the thing as hard as you can. So that was one decent step. Now we need to start bringing the next one, but that will be a number of races down the line.
So that is your lot from Paddock Pass here for the pre-race edition at the French Grand Prix at Circuit Paul Ricard. I said it at the start of the show, I'll say it again. I absolutely love this place. It's a phenomenal place to come to watch racing cars. It's a beautiful part of the world. Great food, great people, great wine. Amazing weather. We hope to top that all off, we will have a great race. Of course, those sort of rumblings from Canada continue, and we know that story will develop throughout the weekend. Friday being that all-important stewards meeting to determine if Ferrari have the right to review. Keep up to date with everything that's going on Formula1.com. Keep on your social media channels for everything that we will be bringing you through the weekend on YouTube, on F1.com, on the Twitters and all of that. Twitter show post-race as well, so don't miss that. At F1. Pretty easy. That's your lot though from Paddock Pass. Thanks for following along, and we will see you later.